Okay, so summary for Tyrants of the Underdark. Well, first off, let's just get this out of the way and mention that unfortunately the cards are extremely cheap. I mean, these are not durable cards.
No.
Normally, we don't film with the cards sleeved because of the glare and everything, but we played the game twice and the cards were starting to fall apart. So we sleeved them, and every future game we played with the sleeves, and we're like, you know what? We're not gambling on these cards surviving a filming because they're just cheap cards. If you've got any of the like D&D adventure games or anything like that Wizards has done, you've probably seen the cards. They're crap. I mean, a lot of people complained about the graphic design and everything. I don't think it's so bad. I think it's functional. Maybe not the most attractive, but it sure gets the job done.
Yep.
I don't find it offensive the way a lot of people seem to. And the art's pretty cool for the most part, you know, nice, majestic, nice, majestic looking dragon and everything. You know, and now my other main component grievance, I'm going to go ahead and set the dragon down now, would be the soldier tokens. Because, I mean, they're little shields on a cone. It really doesn't clearly convey that they're soldiers. It would have been nice if they were, you know, maybe the sword and shield icon, or, you know, something.
Each colored token has its own personal symbol on it. You just can't really see it because it's all one color.
It's hard to see. It's not very compelling. They should have just done little figures like the spy, except, you know, soldiers. Would have been much more attractive and less, you know, confusing to new players what exactly they are. Which would have been nice to see. You know, the symbols, I guess, are good, but like Camera Wife said, they're so hard to see because it's the same color against the same color. So throughout the game, you're not really going to notice. All you're going to see is the color. So with that aside, the punch board and stuff is just fine. You know, nice, reasonably thick, punched out bits. You know, no particular complaints there. Nothing's warped. You know, the boards are fine. The
sideboard is pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, you know, the market board works really well. It's got great, you know, aesthetic to it. You know, the Devour space looks really cool. So definitely nothing to complain about there. Now, it's like, I can't emphasize enough that the non-warping thing is a wonderful, wonderful aspect, because so many games these days seem to have warping issues. And, you know, we've played this probably a dozen times at least since we got it, and nothing. Other than the cards, it's all perfectly intact. Everything's been just fine. So definitely some pluses there. Now, as for the actual gameplay itself, I found it absolutely wonderful. I love that it's an area control game where I can pretty much ignore the area control if I want to. If I don't feel like playing area control, I can hole up in a corner and promote stuff. You know, or you could do a strategic spy strike, you know, just teleporting where you want to go through spies and just assaulting specific areas. I had one game where I did quite well, and I only controlled 4 areas, but they were major cities that I held on to with a fiery passion. That was all I had, but I had them quite thoroughly and sat there collecting points turn after turn. And, you know, that was really a lot of fun. It's nice that you can succeed at an area control game without necessarily having to control area. Now, in order to keep people from thinking that the area control's unimportant, I mean, it's absolutely a big deal. If you know, are making a promotion-heavy deck, you could mostly ignore the area control, but if you let people hold total control in the big cities for too long, you're not going to make it. It's definitely a very important aspect to the game. There are a lot of points to be had from the area. Can you get around it? Sure. But outright ignoring it would not be a good idea.
No.
You know, you can mostly ignore it, I should say, but, you know, you're going to want to pay some attention.
You want it, you know, to get to a point where, like, all your pieces are off the board.
Yeah, that I could see that as being suboptimal for sure. But it really does emphasize that you can play the game in a lot of different ways and really the way you feel like playing. Also, the deck building aspect keeps what can be a fairly stale mechanic sometimes quite fresh, because you're never going to be running exactly the same strategy. You're just not going to get the same breakdown of cards. It's just, I mean, outside of a wild, wild quirk of fate, it's extremely unlikely to happen. So you're going to be pursuing the same strategy different ways, or different strategies entirely, which, you know, keeps it interesting, even tons of plays later. I mean, it's, the average play time's probably going to be, you know, hour and a half, give or take, and we've played it back to back several times, and it's wildly different each time. Plus, there's a ton of room to expand this game. They could do little, you know, little LCG style deck packs, you know, just adding extra, you know, factions you can play with beyond demons and drow and dragons and elementals. You know, you could add extra board segments to increase the player count. You could make a different map. I mean, all kinds of potential for expansion here, which, you know, if they decide to support the game, great, because it's really, really nifty. And I mean, it runs, geez, I think like $40 or something on the high end, and for what you're getting, that's a wonderful value. If you're not completely repulsed by area control or deck building, this is a good one to check out, because for that price, you're not really losing much. Plus, sorry, I can't speak. At the time of, you know, making this video, please look at the date before you correct me on this. You know, it's a fairly hot ticket item, so, you know, decent chance of reselling or trading it if you try it and don't like it. Now, you know, it's obviously not perfect. I mean, you know, nothing is. We've found that, you know, in some occasions there can be a bit of a runaway leader problem in lower player count games. You know, if you're playing with the full 4 people, if somebody gets an amazing start, they're probably going to get dogpiled, and, you know, things will equal out from there. But if you're playing, say, a 2-player game, and somebody gets a lucky first few turns, gets some insanely high-powered cards, they can just completely run away with things, which is unfortunate. But I'm not sure terribly much they really could have done to avoid that. That's the unfortunate or fortunate side effect, however you want to look at it, of deck builders. Luck is a factor. So, I'd say that about sums up the summary pretty nicely. You know, definitely a keeper for us. We've really been enjoying it.
Yes. I also like the way, I mean, it scales well for the player counts available. I mean, it keeps you where you are close and forced to
interact.
There is no, I'm just going to hide in my little corner and you guys just stay away. You have to kind of fight for your corner.
Yeah, you can definitely stay in your corner, but people can also challenge you for your corner with good old spies and all that, so sure.
And I like that.
But yeah, I would say, and of course, the theme is about as present as it could be in a game like this. You know, it's not, I guess you could say it's not necessarily integral to the game, but it's as here as it could be for the game. I mean, there's neat little flavor text, great art, you know, the city names, and biographies in the back of the book. There's literally not just a pronunciation guide, but whole little, like, detail paragraphs about the cities.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it's a wonderful touch. It really, that's how we know this is Mushroom City, you know. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, I should stop speaking before, you know, I throw up my lunch all over the board, but yeah, so Tyrants of the Underdark, you know, we definitely think it's worth checking out, so rewatch the gameplay if you're, you know, confused or on the fence at all. Hopefully this was useful to you, so until next time, get off your computer or mobile device or what have you, and go play some more games.